Wow. It's only been half a week since my last Overwatch League off-season news video, but since then there's been a ton of new updates and changes that have been announced, which I'm excited to report and give my opinions on today. Interestingly, there have also been a flurry of rumours circulating around, some with more confirmation than others, and whilst I prefer official announcements, I'll give these rumours a small mention throughout this video when it makes sense, as it does appear that some of the moves being mentioned are trending in the right direction. Also, there's a word of warning about halfway through making this video, about a million new announcements drop that I'll be adding a short way through the video, so enjoy. I'll begin with the biggest news that was announced last night, as Profit and Gesture said goodbye to the London Spitfire, and were later unveiled as new members of the Seoul Dynasty. Whilst this is something that's been rumoured for the past week or so, seeing the official post certainly facilitated some passionate responses from the fans of the two teams affected, with London fans sad to see them go, whilst most Seoul fans celebrated loudly, including myself. This sort of move that sees two star players move to the Dynasty just demonstrates the strength and advantage that they have in their first season of localisation as the only Korean organisation, with the chance to live and play in Korea clearly a major factor in these two players wanting to make this move happen. It seems obvious now that Seoul are going all out in 2020 as they start to construct a super team on paper, and I expect more aggressive moves to come from them this off-season as they look to validate the Dynasty name. But even just looking at the additions of Profit and Gesture alone, most including myself will say that on paper it looks amazing. The potential dynamics of a Profit Fleta DPS duo, as well as a main tank depth shared between Gesture and Marvel, just whets the appetite and makes me especially excited to see what they can do with this team next season. Last night saw some other news drop alongside this though, particularly on the path of the Houston Outlaws, who so far have been one of the most active teams in the early part of this off-season, as I discussed the pickup of Harsher at head coach and release of Arhan just in my last video. But since then they've continued to make headlines, first in a more interesting manner, as the team announced they'd re-signed Boink after his contract had seemingly expired. This was certainly a surprising development, as I think I agree with many that he isn't the highest level main support player, with only really an average at best performances up to now. That said, if I'm playing devil's advocate, Houston may want to have a full 12-man roster for next season, and as such having Boink re-sign on a presumably cheap deal would be somewhat understandable if they like his potential and don't want to risk a contender's project, as well as saving money for other moves as well. But if he ends up as their number one option in the starting lineup, assuming they don't pick up another free agent, then I do think questions will have to be asked, and Harsher will need to work hard to improve his performances from what he showed in 2019. Outlaws fans might have been a little disheartened by this news, but it did not take long to cheer them up, as it was announced very shortly afterwards that the team had signed Hydration on a rumoured big money deal after he was left unsigned by the Gladiators and became a free agent. I think for Houston this is a fantastic pickup, as Hydration has shown what a talented and flexible player he is, and I expect him to flourish on the Outlaws under the guidance of Harsher, especially as the team has been crying out for a player of his type for some time now. But he wasn't the only DPS player who would be joining them, as last night it was also revealed that Houston had agreed a money-for-player trade with the Boston Uprising for Blase. Taking both moves into account, the team now has great non-hit scan options for DPS position, and knowing Harsher, he probably has a plan to utilise their strengths and weaknesses flexibly, depending upon the meta, with even the potential for multiple role flexes as well. Although Blase's move as a whole is kind of a bit odd, and I'm interested to see how it pans out. However, with now 5 DPS players on the team, you have to think that one of the other 3 will be leaving or transitioning to another position at some point over the off-season, and it will be interesting to see if the Outlaws are now happy with the state of their DPS position, or whether they'll pursue anyone else, although I think the priority now should be improving at the tank and support positions. With this trade though, it leads us nicely on to talking about the Boston Uprising, who before this trade confirmed the exit of every one of their players not under contract, with the free agents being fully released, alongside those on team options. Those leaving Boston are Alamal, Kellex, RCK, Persia, AimGod and Stellar. Unfortunately for most of these players, I don't see immediate returns to the Overwatch League in 2020, as for the most part their performances haven't been great on an underwhelming team. Boston's decision to do this isn't that surprising, as they love to make changes as we saw after last season, and they'll likely bring in some more Huck scouted gems for next season, perhaps from their academy roster, but with now only 3 players left on their books after the Blase trade, they might want to get a bit of a move on. But returning to those leaving, I do believe AimGod will get a chance with another team, as I think he's proven himself a very talented flex support, but clearly fell out with the staff at the team. As for the others though, I think returns to contenders are more likely destinations, unless those playing in the World Cup pop off and attract some more attention. Of course, as I'm working on this video, just a bucket load of new information keeps dropping, a lot of which seemingly confirming many of the leaks and rumours that have been circulating around, so we'll start with the LA Valiant. They announced the departure of Agilities, Karif and Space just as the rumours have been suggesting, and to be honest, I don't see the logic in this move for the Valiant at all. From what I've heard, they're planning to majorly budget next season from an organisational point of view, but in giving away all of your top fan favourite talents, I think they might disillusion their fanbase, especially with the team likely to drop in quality. They might have some big brain Boston Season 1 plan in mind, but they have to hope it pays off. However, I guess this LA team's loss is their neighbour's gain, as it was shortly confirmed afterwards that Space would be joining the Gladiators, on apparently one hell of a contract. I I think this is a fantastic acquisition for the Gladiators, as it fills the void after Void entered free agency, and whilst he might have been a little shaky at the start of 2019, I think as the season progressed, Space reminded everyone why he's clearly one of, if not the best Western off-tank in the league. Also stealing away one of your city rivals' best players has got to feel good, hasn't it? He's not alone on the Gladiators roster though, as the team over the past week confirmed that their starting supports will be returning for 2020 as well. First with Shaz at flex support, and then shortly afterwards with Big Coots at main support, as both of their team option deals were picked up. This is unquestionably a great decision by DP and the team, as these two have clearly developed into one of the best Western support pairings in the league over the past 2 seasons, throughout a variety of different metas, and I'm excited to see what they can do next season alongside Space as their off-tank, with perhaps a Dallas main tank destined to join them shortly as well. Not forgetting that Decay is still with them as well, raring to show why he was so desired last off-season. The reason I mention their main tank situation though is because of the loss of Raw, who joined the Washington Justice shortly after my last news video a few days ago, in a move that certainly surprised quite a few people. I think most people agreed that Raw is certainly a talented player, but given the pickup of Lulsish for 2020 as well, people started debating the reasoning for this move and who would likely start. Clearly this confusion was seen by their new head coach, and he put out a tweet explaining that the top 2 teams of the 2019 season had 2 main tanks in their own rosters, with both tanks having different strengths and playstyles, suggesting that he plans to use both of these players next year in different situations based upon the meta and the main tank heroes being played, a decision that I myself can totally get behind for adaptability and flexibility, and I'm excited to see how it pans out. Although, just as I was about to move on from the Washington Justice, they went and announced they picked up Tuba at the DPS position. Now admittedly, I don't personally have much of a feel for this player, as he's mainly been playing in Chinese contenders this year, but reading comments from those in the know, he's a promising prospect that first made his name on 7, and MVP space in Contender's career as a projectile DPS player. I'd be surprised if he was thrown straight into the starting lineup, but from the looks of things, Tuba might be a hidden gem that Washington are hoping to nurture and develop in 2020, so watching his progress is something I hope to keep a keen eye on. But going back to one of the LA Valiant departures for a second, just as the rumours suggested, Kariv was just announced as a new member of the Toronto Defiant. Should the rumours come true, that he will soon be joined by 2 Canadian DPS players, as well as a Swedish free agent off-tank that's currently on the market, and Toronto looks to be in a very competitive team heading into 2020, that's hell-bent on enjoying a successful season in front of the home crowd. As for Kariv, he showed once again in 2019 what a clutch and important player he can be, with some fantastic flex support displays that at times filled the highlight reel. The new challenge and opportunity that Defiant can now offer him I think should be a great fit, especially considering the decline that the Valiant seem to be now heading in, although as soon as I can officially discuss the rumoured 2020 Toronto Defiant roster, I will, with his inclusion being a major part of it. The next team I want to take a look at is the Philadelphia Fusion. Over the past couple of days they've been announcing the release of a number of their players as free agents. First up was Neptuno. It didn't come as too much of a surprise given some of the rumours surrounding his replacement. However, I still expect Neptuno to end up at another Overwatch League team, given his quality and ability at the main support position, which although a little inconsistent in 2019, is still good enough for a starting spot in my eyes. Not long afterwards though, it was announced that their DPS player EQO would also be leaving the team, and this is a move that I certainly have more questions about. In 2018 he was easily one of the Fusion's best players after his breakout in mid-season, and whilst 2019 didn't allow him to play his comfort projectile picks, he was still one of their more consistent performers week on week, clearly outplaying Carpe for the majority of last season. The decision not to re-sign him is interesting, and one would assume they must have a replacement lined up to take his place, although I now expect other teams to offer their interest in acquiring him for the 2020 season. The last bit of news coming out of Philadelphia tonight was that the team was also releasing both Elk and Kib. Both of these players are certainly talented, but can never find themselves getting much stage time in the starting lineup, which suggests to me that the org never became enamoured with them, so this release makes sense. For Elk, I don't think he'll return to Fusion University, and will probably be looking for offers from others willing to give him an opportunity as a young talent still developing. Whilst Kib's future will certainly be helped or hindered by his upcoming World Cup performance on Team UK, that will hopefully remind everyone of why he was picked up into the league in the first place after a great performance last year. To end this video though, let's go on a bit more of a global tour as we leave the teams based in the US, and first go to China, as the Shanghai Dragons announced that Youngjin was leaving the team as a free agent. He enjoyed an up and down time with Shanghai, but given his team option deal and the DPS options they already have, I can't say I'm shocked to see him go. The question now though is what do Shanghai have planned for the rest of his off-season, as they have many of their players on options as well, and with nearly every Chinese team staying very quiet at this moment in time, you have to suspect that things are going on behind the scenes that we'll hopefully learn more about soon. However, leaving Asia, the only place left to look is Europe, where I'll start with the Paris Eternal, who announced the other day that they picked up Coach Ninek from the San Francisco Shock. From the sounds of it, he was a very popular coach that has received a lot of praise, and expectations are that he can bring in good experience and quality to what was an underwhelming Paris team last season. And changes are already afoot in Paris, as they announced today the departure of 4 of their players in Danye, Shadowburn, Finzi and LH Cloudy, all players previously on option deals. These moves are really fascinating to look at, especially in regards to who is staying, with the French members of the team still getting the nod, even if they were arguably worse than their released counterparts. I personally thought that Danier and Finzi had quite good seasons despite Paris' poor overall performance, and I'd be very surprised if they didn't get offers elsewhere soon. Shadowburn, while struggling early on in 2019, is still a very proficient projectile DPS player, but no doubt will show off his quality for Russia at the World Cup, and will likely find another place to soon call home. But for Cloudy, I have fewer hopes. After a tease video that was posted today though on their Twitter, one has to ask whether we are potentially looking at a mixed European and Korean roster for the Eternal in 2019, with a core of French talent to boost local support in the team, which might explain some of these moves. And it'll be fascinating to see if the sparkle around Paris at the moment really dazzles us with some news soon. Lastly though, let's go full circle and arrive back at the London Spitfire, who despite losing 2 of their stars, leaving them now with only 4 active players. They did announce an overhaul in their coaching staff, with Pavane, Twinkle and Awesome Guy coming in as assistants to the newly promoted Agape as a head coach. Few can deny that this coaching staff looks really good, in particular with the addition of Pavane, the former New York Excelsior head coach, as just an assistant. The experience and quality available here should put London in a really good spot to develop over the course of 2020. But now the question is, what is their team going to look like, having already been stripped almost bare, despite seemingly committing to a full Korean setup with urgency perhaps needed to aggressively pursue some hot contenders prospects, make use of this really promising coaching staff. But on that note, I think that's all I've got to say in the way of off-season Overwatch League news for today, and I'd like to thank you for watching, even if it's a guarantee that more signings will be announced the moment I upload this video. I'm still planning to alternate my videos between the Overwatch World Cup and news videos in the run-up to BlizzCon, so if you enjoyed, then please like, subscribe and follow me on Twitter so you don't miss out, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.